have a guest author joining me today on Primetime Local News. Luce Sutherland is here, and we're going to be chatting about the book Delicious Surrender. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Stacey. It's an absolute pleasure.
Well, I took a look at the book and the contents, and we're going to have to keep this G-rated a little bit for the news. But can you tell me a little bit about the plot of this book? Because I saw that it was described as a steamy, grumpy sunshine romance. So that is a very interesting description. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
It is. It is steamy grumpy in that you've got two characters. One is more sunshiny, happy-go-lucky, and the other, the male protagonist, is definitely aloof, very, very arrogant at times, difficult to reach. And the two of them together is a little bit interesting as far as friction and chemistry that they would like to deny. The plot of the story is that my lead character, Bryn, is an aspiring author. Her agent has rejected her manuscript and told her it's just not spicy enough. And she's stuck being able to make it more realistic without adventuring into a different place to get some firsthand experience.
Well, should we be thinking 50 Shades of Grey with this, or is it a little bit more advanced than that?
No, it's right in line with 50 Shades of Grey. I definitely was a fan of E.L. James' books, and it is similar in that it's probably the same on the spicy scale. It's very similar.
Right. And is this going to be a series? Are you looking at making these ongoing characters?
It is going to be a series, but each book will stand alone on its own. So the two characters in Delicious Surrender, their story finishes with a happy ever after. And then the next book will be about another friend of the male character. Three gentlemen went to university together, and the stories are linked with those. So I have three in mind, and maybe even a fourth in the series, but people can read them without a cliffhanger or anything of that sort.
So where did the inspiration come for this, and why did you decide to write in this genre?
Well, the inspiration, I have been writing on and off for probably over 20 years, just not willing to share it with anybody. And I do think that when 50 Shades hit bookstores and Kindles, that opened up the world to these genres. It was more acceptable. You didn't need to go to the bookstore and sneak in and find an erotic novel and take it to the counter. Now you can do it quietly and silently and read anywhere, and no one knows what you're reading. So I had always been a fan from my late 20s, various heat levels of romance novels. And I just decided, in fact, during COVID, that I had time on my hands. I had isolation, and it became something that I had talked about and finally put into action.
And is the setting, do you set it in some exotic locales, or is it, I know that you live in Florida and you are, excuse me, you were Canadian, so
Yeah.
you have the experience in both countries, but did you decide on a setting, or did you make up a place for a setting?
I actually, it starts in London in the UK, and half the book is in the Isle of Skye. I have a deep love of Scotland. It is in my family history, and I visited a number of times. And so my lead male character is Scottish, and he's based in London. I did want to do something exotic and different from Canada or the US. Book two will be US based, and probably three will too. But yeah, London, beautiful city, and then Scotland.
Well, I guess that's the nice thing about writing too, is you can set these wherever you want, and you can make the characters whoever you want them to be. So I think it's for someone who doesn't write like books like you do. I write every day with stories, obviously for news, but to actually put a full book together, I can't imagine how much work goes into that. How much time did it take you to get this together?
I could not imagine what it took either. When I embarked on the project, I really had no idea, and I had a kernel of an idea, but I took it back to square one. I started learning the process. I downloaded a million instructional webinars and followed a process. It took me a year to write. I did have a full-time job at that time. It took me a year to edit. And then I started the process of looking for an agent to get published. And I fiddled around in that process for probably a good 8 months until I finally decided this isn't happening. I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to self-publish. And that process, I dove into that blind. It's incredible the amount of stuff I've learned having gone through this, but internal formatting, cover formatting, editing, professional editing, so that you're not putting a book out there with typos and such. And you've got a professional eye who's gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. So that's why we are, let's see, 4.5, 5 years from COVID, and I have a book in my hand. So
Well, that was quite a process, but congratulations for sticking with it because, some people would have given up along the way, having to go through all of that as well. So, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining me today. And if people are looking to pick up this book, where can they find it now?
So it releases for full publication next Friday, the 17th of January. It will be on Amazon.ca.com, all over the world. And in paperback, you can order a Kindle version. It's part of the Kindle Unlimited subscription process as well. And paperback, I'm working on that to get it into bookstores, Canadian and US bookstores. I'm not sure if you can get it by Friday in a bookstore. It's probably a little too far in advance, but yeah.
Okay. Well, once again, the book is called Delicious Surrender, and the author is Luce Sutherland. Luce, thank you so much for joining me, and we look forward to seeing this and then the rest of them coming out in the series as well. So good luck with that as well.
Thank you, Stacy. Much appreciated. Have a great day.